Welcome to the Blue Collar Wealth Podcast. This podcast reflects on the work, money, and the lives of blue-collar business owners. Blue-collar wealth expert Darryl Smith discusses the day-to-day obstacles blue-collar business owners face as they pursue a better life, career, and wealth. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to episode number 10. Today we're going to talk about overcoming challenges in your work, money, and life. All right, Darryl, give me an overview of the impact that we face in dealing with the challenges that affects us not only in our work, but our money and our life decisions, and how how they're all connected together, and how exactly do you fit in as a financial services professional, financial advisor, opposed to a mental health professional?
Hi, Matt. Well, first of all, if the issue is serious enough, I strongly recommend they go see a doctor or other trained mental health practitioner. What I'm really referring to is a lot of the challenges that my clients have faced and dealt with and shared with me over the past 20 years. And, we worked through all these challenges and we've overcome them. And I've made my own mistakes in the past and had my own challenges, and I've had to work through those as well, too. But I've learned a lot. As much as I'm there to guide and share with my clients, I learn a lot from them as well, too. There's a lot of very successful business people out there, and they're successful for a reason. So that's where, I try to listen to everything they have to say. But a lot of times they need a sounding board. They need to have me work through things that have absolutely nothing to do with investments or insurance or anything like that. It's kind of like the big picture stuff that I try to focus on and help clients through.
So what kind of challenges are we discussing specifically? Now, we kind of did a big overview of this, but let's get a little bit more specific if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, we talk about work, money, and life, and really that's the phrases I use a lot of my material and everything else, because these are the three key areas of our life. And, for example, work could be anything from our business relationships and any conflicts or issues that we may have with our staff, our customers, our suppliers, or even other professional advisors. We get information that sometimes conflicts, and we have to kind of work our way through it. In addition to that, we're talking about market cycles. Every business out there has got times where they're going to be extremely busy, and there's going to be times where they're going to be slow. And there's challenges associated with both of those types of things. It's like, do we have enough staff to manage the busy times, and how do we keep everybody working during the slow times? These are things that go on. Things beyond our control, changes in government policy and how it affects us on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot of talk in the news right now about NAFTA and how that may change things going forward. So that's going to be critical to a lot of businesses. And again, cash flow, which is affected by our business cycles, how are able to pay our bills. A lot of times we get certain customers that think that we're financing their business by not paying us in 90 days or 120 days. That's really puts strain on us, and it makes things difficult for us because we can't just raise our prices because people aren't paying us on time. And from that, that's kind of determines into our money. Our business money goes into our personal money and how we're able to pay our bills and take care of our families. And then finally, we talk about life. We've got our personal relationships, challenges to our own personal health and mental health. And mental health is something that is starting to get more recognition. It's not such a weakness anymore. It's like people are dealing with some severe mental issues, and they have to work their way through it. As a matter of fact, the Rotary Club I belong to in Barrie, Rotary Club of Barrie, we're doing an auction. One of the things that we're promoting are helping to support is our local hospital's initiative to work with youth and mental health. So those things are starting to get more ground. I'm glad to see that. And finally, in the life stages of things, we all go from going to school, living at home with our parents, going to post-secondary education or technical schools, working for somebody else, getting married, starting our own businesses. These life stages create a lot of anxiety and a lot of challenges in our lives. And we need to be able to work through. And that's, going up into even going closer to retirement. Retirement can be extremely stressful for some people because there's so many different things that they have to take into consideration. So we always want to make sure that they're able to work through it.
Well, we never really know where the next challenge is going to come from, but we do know, we're guaranteed in life, that we will continuously be faced with challenges with just life itself. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I guess really the important thing of this podcast is for me to share some of the tools that I've managed to put together. And they're not earth-shattering by any means, but they're just something that works for me, and I just wanted to share them.
Fantastic. So with that in mind, what are we supposed to do the next time we're faced with a big challenge and we feel overwhelmed?
Well, we're kind of hardwired. The expression about when we're impacted with something, our hardwired initiatives are usually fight, flight, or hide. Mm-hmm. And so, each of these reactions can, if we don't take a breath and kind of work our way through them, they can actually create more problems. So the first thing I always recommend to somebody is to write down the problem as you see it in as much detail as possible.
So the idea here is that we're not supposed to immediately react. We're supposed to take a moment, right?
Exactly. And again, as type A personalities, that's not always easy, but we may not have all the information, or the person who gave us that information may have heard something incorrectly. So if we go out, with our rage and we start yelling and screaming at people without the information, it's just going to cause more problems. So we need to just take a minute and start to write it down.
So I absolutely 100% agree with you. I'm a big fan of writing things down. It allows people to process it a little bit more. But after all, we're trying to solve a significant challenge. So break that down. Continue to unpack that for us, please.
Well, if you think about it, I know kids today, everything is with their iPads and all the different forms of technology. But for myself and most of the listeners, we went to school. We wrote down our notes. We went and studied for tests. We wrote down notes. That's how we learned to process, like you had mentioned, and process things, but also how to figure things out. In addition, it kind of slows us down a little bit. It calms our mind, and we can look at things from a lot of different perspectives. But if we take the time just to write that all down, and the thing is that no one may never see that what we're writing down, but it allows us to, if we're angry about something, even to get that out on paper. And it doesn't damage our relationships, because then we can kind of refer back to it.
So we've written down the problem. Where do we go from there?
So we've written, like you said, everything is written down the way we see it. And we have to think we've got 2 or 3 possible scenarios that could go both in the positive and in the negative sense. So we need to write everything down as possible fixes. One, we got this wrong. Everything's going to be okay. Or, if we don't deal with this, it's going to be a major problem. We have to write it all down no matter what. Both, like I said, best and worst case scenarios.
Got it. So aren't we supposed to try to focus on the positive? So why would we write down both?
If we don't write down our worst case scenarios, what's going to happen? It's going to bounce around in our mind, and it's going to be there, and it's going to continue to be there till 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And I kind of say that's my major question I ask my clients. I said, have you ever laid in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning worrying about an issue? Yeah. And I've never had a business owner who said no to that.
I don't know about you, man, but I've been up at 2 o'clock in the morning thinking about an issue. Absolutely. So now we've written down the best and the worst case scenarios. Now what do you do with it?
By doing that, then we have to take stock of all the people who are involved. And that could be from our families, our employees, our suppliers, whoever's involved in the situation. And in some situations, that could be third-party associations as well, too. Everybody who's involved, we have to write down their names and what they're going to do and how they're going to help us fix the problem. And then we need to start following up to make sure that we have all the facts correct. We don't want secondhand information here. We want to deal with every individual on a one-to-one basis. And it's not about email anymore. In these kinds of situations, put email aside. Some people like email because it allows them to detail a conversation and also save that in case something else happens in the future.
Sure.
But sometimes we want to get to the heart of the matter, and that's just pick up the phone and call somebody.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's really amazing the difference between written communication and verbal communication. And it seems simple enough, but what else can we do to resolve these challenges as soon as possible?
I always recommend a detailed journal, and that's what I do. And that's dates, times, communications, and people who are supposed to do something for you to help figure things out, and the deadlines that go along with that. You need to keep everybody accountable. If we have the facts in place, now we can start to work towards resolutions. But, the importance is to keep things moving on an ongoing basis. Don't let anything stall.
Don't let anything stall. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Were you going to continue there?
I was just going to say, a lot of times people, they're trying to work through these things, and all of a sudden something else will come up. I always say to people, when the ball's in your court, and there's something to be done, get it done as soon as possible. Never let anybody come back to you and say, I was waiting for information from you. You need to get this thing done and over with, because you know what? The old adage of time is money, it's there. And we have this thing where things will rattle in our brain until it gets resolved, and it will cost us money and all other opportunities that we're trying to pursue because our brain is focused too much on these issues and these challenges.
So how do you balance that? So let's talk about that. How do you deal with the ball in your court? And then when something else does come up, I mean, you experience this. You're a busy, successful financial services professional. What do you do when something new comes along?
Well, the idea, I think, when we're faced with these types of things is a challenge can happen, but there's a reason why it happened. And if we can prevent that in the future, that's great. But in addition to that, how we look at challenges in our lives and how we go about resolving them is a learned exercise. So what I always try to encourage my clients to do is to say, okay, here's a process that we're going to create now. So if something comes along like this in the future, maybe that's about having a disclosure signed by a client, or giving written timeframes of something that can be happen. If you said that the project's going to be done by this date, but you're impacted by things beyond your control, like if you're building a home and the weather is just not cooperating,
Sure.
or there's a strike on framers that's beyond your control, all those types of things have to be in the agreements, but also you need to tell people that. You can't hide behind the fine print. It's just going to frustrate everybody. So have a process in place. And if it's not the individual that's going to be dealing with it, have someone on your team that can help with that as well.
Well, Darryl, thank you very much. I mean, again, being a person's financial services professional does really give you a good glimpse into more than just their finances. And over the last two podcasts, episode 9 and this one, episode 10, I think you've done a very good job of showing the human side of what you do for your blue-collar clients. So I really want to thank you for that. Thanks,
Matt. Again, we're all, in my industry, we're all licensed for products, but products are not the forefront of the relationship. They're the secondary. They're there to solve problems. The advisor is there to do exactly that. They're a professional advisor there to guide people through, help them ask questions they're not sure about or even aware of what to ask, and then guide them through and working with other professionals as well, too. And then everybody wins.
Well, Darryl, thank you very much for being People's Guides.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. And remember, the topics today are for information purposes only. Please discuss these ideas with your professional advisors before making any changes to your situation. To learn more about Darryl Smith and the Blue Wealth Financial Planning Program, please visit us at synergylife.ca. From the website, you can download a free yet informative booklet, The 10 Tips to Maximize Blue-Collar Wealth. You can connect with us via social media, and you can also book a 20-minute, no-obligation meeting with Darryl to ask any questions you might have.